YMCA of Greater Charleston is looking to its future, and it's beginning at Cane Bay. I sit down one-on-one with Paul Stoney, the president and CEO of Greater Charleston YMCA, for the special edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And be sure to download the free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Paul Stoney.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you so very much for having me.
Oh, anytime. Obviously, you are the president and CEO of the Greater Charleston YMCA, I should say.
YMCA, yes, sir.
And I know that you're getting close to probably your 35th year in this particular organization.
That's exactly right.
Who's Paul Stoney these days?
Well, what an interesting question. Sometimes I have to ask myself, but I come up with different answers. Actually, today, Paul Stoney is a professional who leads an organization that is setting new trends in the Charleston community. He's someone who has an excellent staff that he's grown over the last 13 years that he's been in the Charleston community, and is moving the boundaries as it relates to nonprofits in this community. Extremely proud of our newest facility, Cane Bay, and certainly proud of the partnerships we've been able to develop along the way.
You talk about those boundaries that you all are trying to remove. What are they?
Well, what we're trying to do actually is something that we've really in many ways already accomplished, which was to transcend boundaries that would limit us from being successful. This is a very difficult time for nonprofits, not just the YMCA overall. And what we're trying to do is lift the boundaries of finances, which can be very, very difficult to attain. What we're trying to do is create safe places for children and families to be. As you can tell by recent newspaper articles and television stories, the world has become something different than the world I grew up in. When I grew up, schools and churches were safe places, as was the YMCA. And now they become targets. And so what we're trying to do is certainly provide safe places for children and families that they can grow and develop themselves in spirit, mind, and body.
Spirit, mind, and body. Where is your mind these days? Obviously, you just talked about safety and security. What is that like for you? Because as you just mentioned, churches and the YMCA were places for you, safe havens back in the day. What is the biggest difference now?
Well, certainly without being too political, I think that there are far too many opportunities for people who may have MHMR or mental health, mental retardation issues to acquire, I'll just say, weapons of mass destruction, because that's what they've been. I know heretofore weapons of mass destruction have been quantified and defined as what I would say nuclear weapons and so on and so forth. But in my opinion, when you kill 36 people in 25 seconds and you have that capability in your hand and it's attainable by any citizen that may have a driver's license without the proper scrutiny, I think that we need to, and we are duty bound to make changes regarding those laws and regulations that allow that. I'm totally not against guns. I think that Americans should be able to possess guns and other means of self-defense or sporting rifles and things of that nature, but I don't see the need for these weapons that will allow you to kill as many people as quickly as what I've seen in the news over the last few weeks, up to and including the issues last night in Philadelphia where 6 policemen were injured.
Talk to me without giving out too much information. What are the safety and security measures you're taking over at the Cane Bay YMCA?
Well, we just had this discussion yesterday, coincidentally, and I shared with my staff after I shared a prayer of community peace with them as we began our meeting. And what we're trying to do at the YMCA, first of all, is recognize that we have a responsibility to keep those members that we have, and we have 5,000 members just in 3 months that we've been open. So what we're trying to do is, one, make sure that we take all security precautions to keep our members, our children safe. Number two, recognize that we are a potential target. And thirdly, make sure that we train properly in order to take the necessary steps without going into too much detail, but providing security that is exposed and some that is not exposed. And for example, we have cameras in practically every room of the new facility. We spent a six-figure sum in making sure that we did that because we recognize the importance of security and being able to go back and see what may have happened.
You talk about those 5,000 members that you have over the past couple of months that Cane Bay has been open.
Yes.
Which one of those members still tug at your heart right now?
Well, I have so many. I have a woman who was unable to find a job. She works in the school system in Berkeley County, and she was unable to find a job that would allow her to also have her child with her that paid enough money because she couldn't afford childcare for her child and still work. And so we were able to find an employment opportunity for her and also provide her what we call a scholarship or a financial subsidy so that her paycheck would mean more than the average paycheck because now she's got some childcare concerns that have been alleviated. And she's also going through a difficult divorce. So I felt very good in being able to provide her, as the YMCA will often do, with the necessary funding. And we get that funding from community members who've been very supportive of the YMCA during our youth scholarship campaign.
You talk about the community. You talk about obviously being the president and CEO for the past 13 years. What's changed about Charleston in your mind?
Well, a lot of things have changed. The community overall has changed related to growth and development. Certainly traffic, as most people will share with you. But I think one of the more important changes is that in as much as we have a history of racial prejudice, and I think racial prejudice hopefully will not be with mankind, I would hope that in the words of several people, including Martin Luther King, that one day people will judge people by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. Benjamin Banneker also said that. But I think what's changed is that people are becoming more accepting of each other. I think that Mother Emanuel played a large role in that, and it's sad that human nature is to respond during crisis, and instead of taking the time to take the necessary actions to alleviate these unnecessary biases that we all have, quite frankly.
And how is the YMCA eliminating all of these stereotypes and issues?
Well, I would love to say that the YMCA is eliminating all of these types of issues. But as we discussed in my staff meeting yesterday, we are that meeting place. We are the place that people come to regardless of race, creed, color, national origin. And we have a unique ability, not just in this town, but throughout the United States, and quite frankly, we're an international organization. We have a unique ability and we have a unique responsibility to bring people together and show people, because Charleston has been primarily segregated, and by that I mean downtown, who owns land, where people live, what churches they attend. And I think the YMCA has an opportunity to bring those people together and share with them their likenesses as opposed to their differences. And we do that through the youth sports programs that we have. We do that through the other programs that we have, like Achievers. Y Achievers is a college preparatory program. We provide SAT and ACT preparation for middle and high school children. We do that by working with other organizations like the police department, who we sponsor Camp Hope for the last 10 years. It's been very successful. With the Rotary Club of Charleston, who sponsors the Youth Achievers program. And we work with a variety of organizations, regardless of color or what their budget size is, just so that we can all be on one accord and try and make the community a better place.
You talked earlier about downtown, and I obviously walking from my house on Hanover Street over here, I passed by the old Cannon Street YMCA.
Yes, sir.
What's that future?
Well, the future is that the YMCA has been on this peninsula since 1866. And it's our intention never to leave the peninsula. And of course, one would say never say never.
Okay.
But, the 61 Cannon Street building has outlived its usefulness and unable to provide the types of programs that we were able to provide when people lived in this community and used that YMCA. As you're well aware, Quintin, this has become very much a college community, and people are buying homes, and very much a young community. And the YMCA is just not capable of being able to provide the membership and day camp opportunities that they were once able to do when the children lived in this community, walked to the YMCA. The dads were able to coach baseball and basketball, as in the case of the Cannon Street All-Stars, who are infamous. And so we have to change with the times. And quite frankly, at the Cannon Street location, we were dying on the vine, losing about $250,000 a year. And we did that for several years with the help of partnerships, but we had to do something different. And Cane Bay was part of the answer. Right now, we're providing programs on the peninsula that still impact thousands of youth and families, such as our dance program with over 200 young ladies that we have every year, and we have a recital in May of every year to celebrate that. We're excited about programs like that that meet the needs of the community in addition to Camp Hope. But I think one of the most important things is that maybe not in most people's lifetime, but the YMCA has been on the peninsula since 1866 and has moved 4 times since then to accommodate the needs at that particular time. And so it was very important for my board of directors and myself and my staff to make a decision for us to continue to grow and move with the times. And what Cane Bay does is allow us an opportunity to undergird those programs that we have, because many of the children in our programs cannot financially afford to provide day camp services and to be able to access Youth Achievers and other programs that we have. So I think that Cane Bay has been overwhelmingly successful, and that it will help us to take that next step in the growth and development of the Greater Charleston community.
What are the needs on the peninsula now that you wish the YMCA could also do?
Well, I think that we can be much more of an asset related to community growth and development. I want the YMCA to be a part of the growth and development of this community. I meet regularly with our mayor and other community officials, some of our city council people, so that the YMCA can be at the table. Because if you're not at the table, oftentimes people wonder, well, if I had only known about that. We're not going to know about that as a community if we're not at the table where these decisions are being made 10 and 15 and 20 years in advance to impact the people of Charleston. So what I believe is important is for us to be a major player and not just be an afterthought as it relates to funding, as it relates to giving input, and as it relates to impacting the children and families, not just on the peninsula, but within a several mile radius of the peninsula.
You talk about funding. Where are you now?
Desperate. I am in a much better situation than I was when I got here. The Cane Bay facility was a $28 million project. The funding was provided by a loan from United States Department of Agriculture, Rural Development. There's also a capital campaign, and we are still in the midst of that, and we certainly would appreciate contributions. Mr. Bill Hall of Hall's Chop House Notoriety is our capital campaign chair, and we've had wonderful people like Carol Hunter Haywood, who've provided significant six-figure gifts. As a matter of fact, our aquatics area, our swimming pool, and our aquatics program is named after her because of her generosity. So we're very pleased, and certainly would like to get the Boeings and Volvos and Daimler Chryslers and Mercedes Benzes of the community directly involved, because I know once they see what it is that we're doing and how we're impacting their employees and training the next generation to be excellent workers in their factories and in their offices, then I believe that they will have no alternative but to see how they can help.
You obviously talked about the aquatic center, and you have the day camps and whatnot. What's your favorite thing at Cane Bay YMCA?
To be honest with you, my favorite thing is the tennis courts because I'm an avid tennis player. But I would say, in all fairness, that my favorite thing is the way that the community waited for it, and it was not difficult because it was several months delayed, as many construction projects are. But my favorite thing is how the community has embraced it. We had a gentleman yesterday who felt compelled to stop me and say, "You've hired some of the most wonderful staff I've ever seen, and they make me feel like I'm at home at this new YMCA." And when you consider that the YMCA also has a 5,000 square foot Berkeley County Library, so we have assets that have not been in that community heretofore. And I will also say the 8-lane, 25-meter swimming pool, which will allow us to be able to teach children and families how to swim, because many people are not aware of the swimming statistics, but drowning is the #1 cause of death in children 14 and under in the United States. And that goes up exponentially as it relates to people of color. 8 out of 10 African Americans do not know how to swim. And so, regardless of race, creed, or color, I think it's important that people know how to swim. Not just that life-saving aspect of it, but the enjoyment on a 100-degree day like today, to be able to be in water and be comfortable. And I think that's one of the reasons God provided it, and why the vast majority of the world and our bodies are made up of water.
Water. Paul Stoney.
Yes, sir.
5-10 years from now, you're sitting here with me for Quintin's close-ups. What would the first thing you tell me?
I'm so proud of what the YMCA has been able to do to change the face of the community and to be involved and to look at the children who were 10 when we spoke back in 2019 and who are now 20 and who've completed their college curriculum and who are now going on as good YMCA alumni, coming back as volunteers and donors and being able to make their own impact, because the world changes at a much faster pace now than it did when I was a child. And so with that understanding, we have to make sure that we recognize how quickly the world is changing and how much we need to be able to be at the table making decisions, regardless of whether the decision is that people don't need AR-15s to hunt. People don't need to be mean and cruel because of people's racial makeup or religious or ethnic background. that we are all people, we are all one. And if I can look back and say, boy, the YMCA made a major impact in making us one as a community, an overall community, a global community, then I will feel very good sitting here, but I will be retired.
Oh. Paul Stoney, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you so very much for the kind invitation, Quintin. It's always a pleasure to see you.
Likewise.
God bless you.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.